All right, this what it is, man. This one's about the Federal Bureau of Prison, how they forcing inmates to take anybody as a cellie. When I was in the system, they never did that. I'm gonna break it all down. Why? Pay attention, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. Let's get this thing started. All right. All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. I'm going to tell you this one here is going to be about how the Federal Bureau of Prison is forcing people to take cellies nowadays. When I was in the system, I'm going to run all the way back to 1994 when I got into Lewisburg. When I was in the system, they would never just put anybody in your cell because they respected our gangster. They wouldn't just put anyone in there because they already know that we might have beefs amongst us that they didn't know about, meaning something may happen in another jail with one of the homies and against another car. They get in it, they get the main culprit, but the homies and comrades that was representing the ones that was in the main cause, they got away and didn't get caught up. And then 5 years later, 10 years later, you know, we all wind up back on the same compound, minus the main culprit. But the ones that was, you know, rumbling and holding it down, they still, you know what I mean? They still never had a separatiste, as they call it. Let me tell you what a separatiste is. A separatiste is if John and Bob gets in a fight and, you know, they feel like they can't put them back on the compound, they put what they call a separatiste on them, where they know to keep this inmate separate from this inmate. So now you have a separatiste list and you have names that's on it. I remember, 'cause you know I like to ride. You know I like to ride. Because I remember when I first went through Oklahoma Transit Center. Oklahoma is like in the middle of the country, and that's where the planes from the East Coast fly. If they're taking you to the West Coast, you spend a couple of days in Oklahoma until the plane is ready to take you wherever you're going out west, and vice versa. If you out west and you're going to the East Coast, they say to Pennsylvania, they'll fly you from Lompoc or Victorville, Atwater, and they'll put you over in Oklahoma, you know, Transit Center. I love the Oklahoma Transit Center because Oklahoma Transit Center is a meetup place where you get to meet up with everybody that you know, that you haven't seen, and you get to hear, you know, the gossip, you know, and the war stories on what happened in other jails that these men is now in Oklahoma waiting to get transferred to another jail. So you could literally sit there for months in Oklahoma, like when you go to Coleman, Florida. Being that Coleman was all the way at the end of the you know, the southern part of the country, the plane didn't go there but maybe once a month. So if you go there, you're there for a month. If you came, you know, at the last minute and they don't put you on the plane, then you had to wait till the next plane a month later, and that's how we was able to spend 45 days, sometimes 2 months, waiting to get transferred. If it's too much people trying to come, they get first come, first served to send you there. And I remember, because you know I'm riding, I remember the first time I saw, you know, the Atlantic. Remember the Gulf, when they had the Gulf oil spill with BP oil? And the whole Gulf coast was covered, you know, with black oil, you know? They flew me over there. That was, because I remember dates and all that for every time I went to a prison. That was like June 10th, 2010. They flew me over the Gulf Coast because I was coming from Lompoc, so I had to stop in Oklahoma. And then a month later, they flew me all the way to Florida. And when we flew over, when I looked out the window, coming from California, the water was blue and beautiful when I looked out the window. But by the time I was going from Oklahoma City to Coleman, it's all black in the ocean. Everything you see below was black. That's where there was tons of oil was spilling every day. I don't know how in the heck these people wind up closing that hole. Because, see, they was drilling oil, in the Gulf Coast. And something happened and malfunctioned and blew up. And then the oil started spilling out. And they couldn't stop it. This is underground in the Gulf Coast. They're digging for oil. And something blew up. And the oil is just spilling out from the bottom of the Gulf Coast. And it's going everywhere. That's where they came up with the Dove. Remember the Dove commercial where they had the little, the doves, and they was cleaning them off with the Dove dish detergent. That was from the oil spill. But I'm riding, so let me go. I'm just saying, about Oklahoma and how that is. But even when you get to Oklahoma was the first ones to really do that, as far as with the cellies from back then. When you go through the Oklahoma, they ask you when you come in, do you have any separatists that you know about, or you ever told on anybody, you beefing with any gangs, or, brands or whatever, because we don't want to put you in the wrong place. We have our separatists, but you know what you've been into. That's what Oklahoma asks you. But the penitentiaries didn't ask you that. Meaning, when something happened and they put you on a compound, you can't say, yeah, I got a beef with, John or Kenny, because in Allenwood, my man was fighting and I got involved and da-da-da-da, but I didn't get caught, so I don't want to be put on. No, you don't do that, because that's ratting. You understand what I'm saying? But when you go through Oklahoma, they ask you these questions, and then, of course, you already know they got the rat bastards that will sit there and tell everything. Yeah, this happened over here and that happened over there, and I can't go around this person, I can't go around that person. And they doing all this running back and forth, But we don't. Those guys are not respected. Those are the guys that usually go into the lower security where they could get away with that foolery, But right now, we don't respect those guys. But anyway, so Oklahoma, if you're Spanish, they'll just put you in a cell with a Spanish person because you're Hispanic. If you're white, they just put you in a cell with a white person. If you're black, they just put you in a cell with a black person. But everybody know they're just getting transferred somewhere. And the most aggressive ones they normally put in the special housing unit. That's called the SHU, S-H-U. That's where they normally put them at. So when they put them up there, they isolate them from everybody else, and everybody else, they looked at their record, and to get put in the isolation, you had to be under max custody. So being that I was in ADX Supermax for allegedly stabbing two police, starting a riot, and all this other crap they accused me of, I always was under max security. So whenever I got there to Oklahoma for transfer, I was the first one off the plane, first one processed, and first one to the SHU. And then they bring in the other guys that's high security, low security, or medium security. Then they bring them in, and then they ask them all those, rat bastard questions. But, they didn't do that with me because I was a max. But once my max dropped, that's where I learned that they do that, because they took me in when I was, going through Oklahoma to Lompoc was the first time they took the max off, because now I'm just a high inmate. And they could put me amongst the high, medium, lows, and the camp people. So when I go through there, they ask me, you ever told on anyone? And I've never had nobody ask me that. So I'm looking at them like, is you crazy? And they like, no, I got to ask you this. And I'm like, come on, man. And they said, well, you got any beefs with any gangs? I looked at him like he was crazy. He said, yeah, all right. So he said, I see your separatists. There's nobody here that's on your separatists. Because I picked up separatists from, like, when I was going to court down in Virginia, there was dudes down there that was telling, and of course, we were smashing them out. So they threw my name up that I was jumping on, the rat bastards, So these dudes told, and my name was on a separatist list where I could never be around these inmates for my whole bid. So when I got to Oklahoma, the police was so cool that, he left the list on the desk. Because I said, yo, what is that list you looking at? He said, oh, no, those are the people that you can't be around, He said, well, I'm going to step out for a minute. You know what I mean? So, because I'm not allowed to let you see that list. So I'm going to have to step out for a minute. You know, if it's his slick way of saying, I'm going to let you see who told on you, you know, who your separatist is. So he stepped out like he going to do something, and I grabbed the list and I'm looking through it, and I seen names with people I thought I was cool with. But these was people that didn't trust me, like if I was going to do something to them. But that's because they knew that they was rat bastards, but I didn't know, and they was worried about that when I find out what I would do to them. So I seen these names of men that I thought was cool with me, that I thought was my homies. But remember, your geographical location don't make you a homie. Your race, your religion don't make you a homie. It's your morals and principles and your code of conduct that you stand on that make you my homie. You understand? So that's where that was at. You know, so now, you know, back then, you know, because we ride, you know, so we ride. So now, Oklahoma, the way they used to do it, if a Spanish dude come to throw them in the cell, you know what I mean? And everybody's just trying to go where they got to go peacefully, because you're not going to be there no longer than a week, 2 weeks tops, unless you're going to Coleman, you know what I mean? Or the plane break down, and, you know, because they play their time, the plane, they load up the plane early in the morning. Everybody get on the plane, and we excited to go to our destination, and then the plane crash. When the plane crash, you know what I mean? When the plane, not crash, when the plane malfunctioned or whatever, they turn it around, drop you back off. Now you got to wait a whole nother week to go back on there. So now, that's the way that play out. But now, they even put me in a cell with a Spanish dude. I wish I had something to show you. They put me in a cell with a little Mexican guy that came in for crossing the border, and he showed me a real slick, unique way to fold like T-shirts, underwear, and socks to make them real small like this, where you can get more in the little drawer that they give you to put your stuff in. Because they put me in there with a Mexican. I'm not racist, so I had no problem with it. But what I didn't understand is, I'm in the cell with a Mexican dude. He was cool, didn't even speak no English. I just watched him learn how he do that. Everything was good. And, you know, and I had no problems with him. He had no problems with me. And then here comes another, you know, Hispanic brother came in, and he was from one gang, and you know, his gang, I think it was Sereno and it was a Nathaniel. They bring the Sereno in, you know, middle of the night, and they go to put him in the cell. And when they bring him to the door, before, because he's handcuffed still, and the dude is not handcuffed. So before he goes in the cell, he asked the dude, he said, "What set you run with?" I said, you know, he said he's Nathaniel. You understand what I'm saying? So when he said that, you know, the Nathaniel that was in the cell, no disrespect to the Nathaniel, just keeping it real. The Nathaniel that was in the cell, he said, "Yeah, you know what it is," because he knew from looking at him that he was a Sereno. He said, "Yeah, you know what it is," you know. So, you know, and no disrespect to the Serenos either. I'm telling the story, just giving it 100. So when they did that, the Sereno looked at the police and he told them, "If you put me in the cell with this man, I will kill him as soon as you take off the handcuffs." Now, the police done called 20 other police to come up there to see what was going on, because they wasn't used to, that officer wasn't used to a dude standing on it that hard. So when they all came up there and they crowded, they asked him what's going on. So the Sereno, you know, was still in handcuffs. The Nathaniel was in the cell. He wasn't handcuffed. It was like 11 o'clock at night by the time they processed him in. So, you know, the officer told him that this dude said, when we take the handcuffs off, we gonna kill, you know, the dude that we got in the cell. You know what I mean? He ain't say for why, he ain't put it out there. He just let him know straight up, I'm going to kill him. So the police didn't know what was going on. So what they do now, they say, well, if you don't go in there, you got to go to the shoe. You know what I mean? So the dude said, "Man, it's your call what you do. I ain't got a problem where you put me in your jail. Whether you put me in the shoe or you put me in this cell. But if you put me in this cell, I'm telling you, I'm going to kill this dude." You understand what I'm saying? So they said, "I will put you in the shoe." So they put him up in the shoe. Then when he goes to the shoe, and then when it was time to leave the next morning, he was going to Lompoc, where I was coming from, and I was going out towards Coleman, where he was coming from. So we both was down in the holding cell that morning waiting to get on our respective airplanes to be what they call airlifted, like the movie Con Air that I'm sure you've seen. So we all waiting to be airlifted, and that's where I asked the dude, I said, yo, what was up with that? You wouldn't go in the cell with dude. He said, man, they know better than that. We don't get along with Nathaniels. You know what I mean? He said, bottom line, I gave him fair warning that I'm going to kill him. He said, man, I don't want to, but if they put me in there, I have to kill him because I got to represent my gang, and it's an ongoing beef. You know what I mean? So I let dude know that I'm coming in here, I'm going to kill you. And then I let the police know, So y'all put in the comments what y'all think of that, because I know all you rat bastards and trolls got all kinds of things to say. Would say he was ratting, this and that. You know what I mean? So y'all put in the comments. I'm not going to voice my opinion on that. But, that's the way that worked. So now, that's how they did it in Oklahoma. But when you get in the regular USP and you get there and they put you through what I told you about yesterday, like in ADX Supermax, you go through the quay where you see the counselor, unit manager, case manager, the captain, and the AW, and they decide where you're going to put you. They look at your jacket to see what you're affiliated with, to see where they're going to put you and how they're going to deal with you. So once they do that, then they see that, okay, he can't go in the cell with this person, or he can't go in the cell with this person because he's a blood, or he can't go in the cell with this person because he's a GD, whatever. But that's what they do when you get to the USP, because that's where they're more in debt with having to houses for decades, where it's not the same as when you go to, Oklahoma, where you're only there for a week and everybody kind of like, call a truce while they're there. You know what I mean? Just to get out and get to your respective institution. But these Serenos and the gangbangers, they was on it hard. Like, man, if you put me in a cell with, I'm gonna kill him. And of course, a couple of times they put the dude in the cell anyway. And so a dude went in there, being he had no knife, he punched them. They in there fighting like a storm. And then people yelling because they can't see it. They, woo, 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 woo. And while they doing that, here comes all the police running, and then they move them out. And that's how they dealt with that. But now, when you get to the USP, and let's say you in the SHU. If you're in the SHU, the special housing unit, you violate and you get caught with a knife or whatever, and you go back there and you in the SHU, the police will come to your cell back then, right? And they'll ask you nice and simple. You know what I mean? They'll be like, we got a bus coming in. Are you willing to take a cellie? This is what they do in the USP now. When I was there, they said, are you willing to take a cellie? So then we'll say, let me see who it is. You know what I mean? Because a lot of time we do want somebody in the cell because we want somebody to talk to because we've been in there for a minute, in the SHU. But when you're on the compound, you don't want nobody in your cell because this way you got to live for a decade. So you'd rather go long as you can without a cellie, But they have it geographically located where you got a New York cell, a GD cell, a Blood cell, a Sereno cell, Nathaniel cell, and a Dirty White Boy cell, an Aryan Nation cell, and they got all these cells for everybody, and they kept the racism going, But that's only because they know it can be deadly if they don't, so to their defense. So they bring somebody to your door and they say, they tell you, yo, bus coming in, you want to take a cellie? So they say, where he from? So then the police go back and ask the inmate, where you from? And they say the dude say he from New York, and they bring him to my door. So he's handcuffed. I'm standing at my door. It's in the regular USP. So when he bring him down there, the CO say to me, yo, this is him. So I talk to dude. I say, yo, where you from? And he might be like, I'm from Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem, wherever. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, yo, you a rat? You know what I mean? And he already know what time it is when I ask him that. So I say, you a rat? And if he say, yeah, I told, and I'd be like, all right, well, you could come in here. Hey, you know what I mean? Because now I want to punish him. So right there, he'll tell him, nah, I ain't going in that cell. You know what I mean? Because I done asked if he's a rat. But I want to know before he come in there, because they might be putting a gangster rat in there that'll try and cut my throat in my sleep. So you definitely want to ask him so that if he tough enough, he come in and then y'all go at it and knuckle it up, And I got the right to tell the CO back then, nah, I don't want no cellie. I'm cool by myself, Because when it's cellie by yourself, you can pleasure yourself by yourself whenever you want. When you got a cellie, you can't do it till he either go to rec, or he go to medical, or he go out to take a shower, That's when you play yourself. So in the shoe, you don't really want no celly because you want to be able to do what you want when you want. For some reason, when you're in your shoe and you're just laying down by yourself all day, your joint just stand up like it's going crazy and you got to beat them down. You know what I mean? So you don't want no celly. But they respected you enough back then to ask you if you want a celly. You know what I mean? That's the way they did it. And you could say no one refuses celly. And the police know what's going to happen if they go against that and put them in. And that's how we lived back then. So then now, as we sitting here doing that, we never, the police respected our gangster. Let's give the police a round of applause for respecting the gangster. All right, y'all, chill. We ain't got to go 10 minutes with this, man. Relax. You know what I mean? They respected our gangster where they not putting anybody in a cell. Now, yesterday I talked to Booby from the Booby Boys, Kenneth Williams. The media labeled him as Kenneth Booby Williams, but everybody calls him Black that know him, or Black Boy because he was real dark skinned, And, so I talked to him yesterday and he said, man, Unique, things changed in here, man. And, I was telling him about my case and what, how I got out and the motion and where to look up my case online so he could use my case being that it's precedent to try and say, well, you let Unique out and he was a kingpin and had violence on his case and da-da-da-da. And here go my thing. I did the same thing Unique did. And if you could show them that and it's from your jurisdiction, or if your judge want to go with another jurisdiction because, Booby is from, the 11th Circuit, and my case was in the 4th Circuit. The 11th Circuit don't respect nobody. They just cold disrespectful. That's why I like how they got, Trump down there going through it, ex-President Trump going through future President Trump, because you already know he's not going to take no L. So he's the future president, because whether he win or lose with the so-called ballots, he's going in that White House, and they ain't going to be able to stop him. Let's hope that don't happen, but I'm just telling you, the way I see it, and, God help this country. Let's just pray, that it's a peaceful transformation. Now, that's why when you go down there and you have the judges that make those crazy rulings, in his favor, because that's a conservative area where they got Ron DeSantis and all of them, and they doing all that. So they do what they want to do in the 11th Circuit, And the 4th Circuit, was known to be racist, because the 4th Circuit, could you believe that the appellate court never even had a black judge on the appellate court until Bill Clinton came in, and because they was short a lot of judges for the appellate court. From judges retiring and dying, and, the presidents that was coming in just didn't appoint anybody down there. So they were short-staffed down there. So Bill Clinton came in and he started putting people on the bench through the nomination. And when he put them on the bench, he put a black dude over there. And can you believe that the judges in Virginia appellate court said, we don't need his kind on here. We could handle the caseload by ourselves. And Bill Clinton was the first one to put a black man on the on the appellate court in the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals, and they fought like hell. They didn't want him, And just like my case, to show you how racist this thing is, when I went to trial, my man Gene Oscar, big shout out to Gene Oscar, in France, Oscar. They from Brooklyn, caught their case down there with me in Virginia. When we went to trial down there, they had no black federal judge for criminal in the district court. So he went in, when they went into trial, right? All of his co-defendants was gangster. They all went to trial. Nobody copped out. You see the way Gunner copping out and this one copping out and that one copping out. None of that happened on his case. That was the only case I see, because even my Codys turned out to be rat bastards and copped out, some of them, But, when they was down there, it was 12 of them going to trial. 2 of them had the kingpin charge, so they had 4 lawyers. And then the other 10 had a lawyer piece. So that was 24, that was 14 white men in suits representing these 12 black men sitting there fighting for their life, all of them in the same courtroom. And they was charged with some horrendous crimes that I'm not even going to speak on because, that's my family. But let's just say they was horrendous. But, it was the norm for that era, And They asked the jury when they were done because they didn't give them the death penalty for these crimes. They had a death penalty trial, went through the death penalty phase, and the jury spared their life. So they asked the jury when they was done, why didn't you execute these dudes? You saw what they did to our civilians. And to make it even worse, they was Haitian, you know? So could you believe that these white jurors, they actually sat there and they said to the media, look it up, you know, this is back in 94, about March 1994. You can look it up in the Virginia Pilot. You see, I got dates and everything. I got receipts for my stories, you know. Some people don't like the stories because they played themselves when they was there, and then they get mad because I say certain things, but I don't say the names the same way. I'm not going to speak on their crime. So only you know that I'm speaking about you. So you don't need to be mad at me for speaking about you because I didn't mention your name. You should be mad at your conduct that warranted me speaking on your name because you violated in one way or another. But I respect you that I'm not even going to put your name out there. You know what I mean? Now, you know, but check it out. The jury said that they could not convict these black men because it looked like a modern day lynching, and only difference between the lynching of slavery and the lynching of this trial was that there was an elevator in the building. In other words, they didn't bring them on a horseback and just throw a rope around their neck and snatch them up off the horse. They actually politely took them up in an elevator and lynched them. You know what I mean? And he said it felt like a lynching. He said these 12 black boys and everything in the courtroom was white. You know what I mean? It's just the white people said. They said we couldn't kill them. You know what I mean? Because we didn't believe everything that was said, but we know it was guilty, we know the crime was horrendous, but we could not kill them because it felt racist. Because they was the only black people in the courtroom. So what they did now is, I went to trial right after them. That's why I remember the dates. Because then I went to trial in June. I was supposed to go to trial in March, a week after them. And they said, stop, we ain't going to do this again. We don't want to lose this one. So what they did is, they went and brought up a civil judge, a black dude, Raymond A. Jackson, to be the only black, district court criminal judge, that they had, and the first one that they had in the Eastern District of Virginia, the Tidewater area. Look at all this up that I'm saying. If I said I give jewels, man, Instagram is right there. Unique Mech Audio. Follow me, and the Cash App is on the screen. I don't care if it's $1. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. If not, subscribe. You see the subscribe button right there. You understand what I'm saying? So, that's where we at. And like the video and share the video to make sure the youngins see this to deter them from what they're doing. Now, I'm sitting there, and they bring in the first black judge, right, to try my case, because they never had one, because they didn't want to be another situation where the media get whiffed that it was a modern day lynching. So they give me a black judge, and they turn around and they give me a black female lawyer. A black female lawyer. Because they didn't have many of them down there in no criminal court back then. I don't think they had any. I don't know anyone. Mr. Robinson was the big boy down there, you know what I mean, at the time that was black, And then when they brings him up and they give me this female lawyer, and can you believe that they brought her up from marriage court to represent my continual criminal enterprise, 848, Kingpin case, and she was a divorce attorney, knew nothing about criminal law. Now, imagine if I didn't have money to pay for my own lawyer to come from New York to come down there to represent me. I would have never seen the light of day. I mean, this was so crazy. And do you know that by them bringing her up, I brought my own lawyer from New York, but when he came down there, he had to work through what they call local counsel, and they call it pro-havoc. Pro-havoc is when, you have to have local counsel because your attorney is not barred in our jurisdiction. So I just kept a little public defender lady for a little figurehead to just sit there, and my New York lawyer came and did his thing, And, I beat all the drug charges. I beat all the drug charges, I beat the money laundering, I beat everything. All they got me on was conspiracy. That's why they're going after Gunner with the conspiracy law. because the conspiracy is so hard to beat, because, just you knowing what happened, you're guilty of conspiracy. It's stupid. So that's why they got me for the 848 conspiracy to money launder and conspiracy to violate, Title 21 USC drug violations. But I beat the actual drug charge. I never even had a drug charge in my life, but it's how they played me, right? So now they bring this black divorce judge to represent me. They bring a black judge from the civil court to hear the case. And then I had 3 prosecutors in my case because I had a kingpin case, right? So they had 3 prosecutors that came at me. A white lady, a black dude, a white lady, a white man, and then they had a Cuban on the case. That was to mix it up to make it more diversity. This is how they did it in 94 down here in Virginia. So they brought him in. The crazy part is the white man and the white lady, they were just doing their job. But the Hispanic, the Cuban, he was just overzealous and was just, that's the one they called me a scumbag, said I'll never amount to nothing. You know what I mean? But the white man and white, prosecutor, they wasn't as nasty, you know what I mean, and trying to hit below the belt. Because when that prosecutor told me that I'll never amount to nothing and I think I'll get out one day, that's when I made my mind up. I was going to change my life and become a better man and show this man that I was going to get out of prison. I got out. Soon as I got out, first I got an attorney, paralegal rather, got an attorney, paralegal, and I went back to his office to see him to let him know, no, I'm not a scumbag, and no, I'm not dying in prison, And he looked at me and he was shocked. I even have the videotape of that, but I don't have nothing against that man. He was doing his job, and, that's what it is. I was a criminal, you know what I mean? And he was a prosecutor. So my job was to evade him, and his job was to convict me. So I can't be mad at him trying to convict me, the same as he shouldn't have been mad at me trying to evade him. You follow me? That's how it works. But now, they got that. Let me speed this up, because I've been on here 30 minutes. So let me give you the end of this, how it play out about them forcing somebody in the cell. Now, Booby told me that 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, they put it was 2 dudes from the Midwest. One dude was in the cell already. They bring another dude in the cell, and they made him go in the cell, and they had a beef from another compound. Within 30 minutes of that man entering into that cell, he was fighting for his life, and 30 minutes later, he was dead. This just less than 2 weeks ago. They don't even put this on the media. You see the stuff you get here? If I say the Cash App is there. They didn't even put this in the media, Black man kills another black man in the federal prison in less than 30 minutes after he got in the cell. He was fighting for his life and lost his life. Because the BOP is now forcing you to take a cellie regardless. Like they tell you to cuff up. So you cuff up, you don't know what they're doing. Tell you to cuff up, because you might be coming out, going to legal call, a doctor or whatever. Tell you to cuff up. Then when you cuff up, then they bring somebody and they just throw him in the cell. They don't tell you get in the cellie. They just throw him in the cell and they take his cuffs off first and then take the other person's cuffs off, that was already in the cell, because they figure that he'll be the one fighting, not the one they putting in the cell, because the one that's already in the cell, he's territorial, already considered his cell, even though it's a government cell, because that's our twisted mentality that we own these cells. We used to be able to buy cells. Like and this was on the compound this happened. This wasn't in the shoe, but they were just locked down because of the pandemic, things like that. They have limited movement, so they kept them in the cells and they brought them in while they was locked in. Now, back in the day, when I was there, we was able to buy a cell. Like a cell might be occupied by, the Serenos, and it's a Sereno cell. You could go to the Serenos, not the police. You go to the Sereno and say, look, I'm trying to buy a cell. Y'all got a cell for me. Somebody want to sell their cell. And they'd be like, yeah, such and such, get ready, go home. I'll let him move in with me. Send him $200, send him $500, and you could get the cell. So now, instead of that being a Sereno cell being I just paid for it, amongst us as convicts, that becomes a New York cell or a black cell. Because now, if I go to the shoe and that cell is empty, they're not going to turn around and put a white dude in that cell or another Sereno in that cell, you know what I mean, or any other race in that cell or any other geographical location. The counselor would tell my homies from New York Yo, yes, Unique went to the hole. We need somebody to move in to hold the cell for him because we can't keep an empty cell here for the roster. And then they let him, you know, to be all right, I'm going to move in. So one of the homies will go move in the cell. When I get out the cell, then they'll move back to their cell and give me back my single cell. And they allowed that back then. But now they like trying to be like, nah, we ain't going to let y'all run it the way when Unique was in here. We ain't doing that no more. And just because they said that, you know, they turned around and they're forcing us into cells. They even had another murder a couple of months ago, not too long ago, a couple of months ago, this year, you know, in McCurry for the same thing. You know, they forced a black dude in the cell with somebody, he had a beef with somebody, wound up killing him. But see, when you reputable like me, Booby, Lou Sims, you know, Farias, you know what I mean, JR from Chicago, you understand what I'm saying? You know, C-Dog and Kaz and them from out west. You know, when you reputable, you don't have those situations where you're not allowed in a cell. They'll allow us in the cell because they know that we stand-up men and we're not rat bastards. And once we get in the cell, once a cell open up, we try and find somewhere to move to get out of, let's say, that Crip cell so the Crip could have it back. But being that we all black, the Crip would say, all right, you from New York, you could come in until, you know, you get with one of your homies to get a cell. But they don't do the compromising like that no more. So I say all that to say, you know, youngins, don't go to prison. Because you don't want to get caught up to have to live by this. I know this is a crazy tale that I just told you, but that's how it is. Make sure you subscribe to this video, hit the notification bell, make sure you like this video, and share this video. Let's get this thing popping. Let's prevent our youth and elders from going to prison so that they don't have to live like these stories that I'm sharing with you. And for that, let me tap out. But before that, cop the book of Roaring Harlem at roaringharlem.com or at Amazon's. I got 4.5 stars. You know, getting ready to be 5 stars. So I feel good about myself. Round of applause to me. Round of applause to me. You know, for Roaring Harlem. Cop the book of Roaring Harlem. It reads like a movie. And you ask anybody that. All right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, he back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops make an audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a raw in uptown. Baby horn uptown, Dominican bust down. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend it air. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the rude men.